Let's continue. We'll study coordinate geometry. So first we'll study coordinates. So consider a line and a unit segment. So the standard line with a unit segment. So consider a line and a unit segment. Note that every point on the line is given by a real number and vice versa. Every real number gives a point on the line. So in a way, points on the line can be specified using numbers, real numbers. So now we can try to do the same for the plane. So consider the plane. So we can ask, can we specify points on the plane? Using numbers. So we'll try to do this. We'll try to specify points on the plane using numbers. So consider perpendicular axis. So pick any two perpendicular axes in the plane. So one we'll call the x-axis and the other we'll call the y-axis. Right. So now let P be a point on the plane. Draw perpendiculars from P. We can draw perpendiculars from P onto the axis. So this marks two numbers. So this marks numbers capital X on x-axis and capital Y on y-axis. So we are considering two perpendicular axes. Let P be any point in the plane. So given a point in the plane, we are drawing perpendiculars from P onto the axis. This will mark this marks numbers capital X on x-axis and capital Y on y-axis. So here's the picture. We are given the plane. We consider two perpendicular axes, x-axis and y-axis. And now given any point P in the plane, we can draw perpendiculars onto the axis, and this marks numbers capital X on x-axis and capital Y on y-axis. Now, so what is the address of P? Note that the address of P is so we can say the address of P is, so begin at the origin, go capital X units in the x direction, and then go capital Y units in the y direction. So this is the address of P. So as an example, consider the plane and the x-axis and two perpendicular axes, x-axis and y-axis. So now consider this point P. So consider this point P If you draw perpendiculars onto x-axis and y-axis, it's marking numbers -2 and 3 on x-axis and y-axis respectively. So note that, so capital X is -2 and capital Y is 3. These are the numbers. Suppose these are the numbers it's marking after dropping perpendiculars onto the axis. Now note that the address of P is, so begin at the origin and then move -2 units in the x direction. So begin at the origin, move -2 units in the x direction. Then move +3 units in the y direction. So moving -2 units in the x direction is the same as moving 2 units in the opposite of the x direction. So that is understood. So the address of P here is begin at the origin, move -2 units in the x direction, and then move 3 units in the y direction. So this is the address of P. So in this situation, so the address of P is begin at the origin, go capital X units in the x direction, then go capital Y units in the y direction. In this situation, we say capital X, capital Y are the coordinates of P. So for example, so we'll consider lots of points just to gain acquaintance with the notation. So for example, this point is 1, 3. The coordinates of this point is 1, 3. Namely, the address of this point is begin at the origin, move +1 units in the x direction, and then move +3 units in the y direction. So here's the x-axis and here's the y-axis. Okay, so this is one point. Another point is the natural point, the origin. This point is 0, 0. Its address is just begin at the origin, move 0 units in the x direction, and then move 0 units in the y direction. So we'll consider another point. So this point is 2, 0. Its address is, this point is 2, 0 because its address is begin at the origin, move 2 units in the x direction and move 0 units in the y direction. Hence this point is 2, 0. So coordinates are basically just addresses of points with respect to x and y axis. Okay, so another point, we'll consider another point. So consider this point. This point is, naturally this point is 4, -2 because its address is move 4, begin at the origin, move 4 units in the x direction and then move -2 units in the y direction. So some more points. So this point is -3, 2. And similarly, this point is -2, -4. Right? So coordinates are basically just addresses of points. So we have considered lots of example points. So note that every point in the plane is given by an ordered pair of reals. and vice versa. So we can basically think of, if you think about it, we can basically think of the points in the plane as just ordered pairs of real numbers, capital X and capital Y. So every point in the plane is given by an ordered pair of reals, namely the address. So informally speaking, the address of that point, and vice versa. Given any ordered pair of reals, you will get a point. So note that we need ordered pairs of reals. For example, point 1 comma 3 is different from point 3 comma 1. Point 1 comma 3, we reach that point by moving 1 unit in the x direction and then 3 units in the y direction. Point 3 comma 1, we reach by moving 3 units in the x direction and then moving 1 unit in the y direction. So we order matters, and every point in the plane is given by an ordered pair of reals and vice versa. Every ordered pair of reals gives a point in the plane. So that's all. So this is how we specify the addresses of points in the plane. So these are called coordinates of points. So that's all for this part. See you in the next part.